the Whole Foods consumption movement, which now, how many years does it go back, Blake and Dave? I mean, it's got to be over 40, 50 years ago that they started talking about that, not including the Kellogg's times from the 1800s. But
yeah, Nutrilite has been around since the 40s, and that was always based around whole food. Yeah, the prickly pear is really interesting from a planetary health aspect, because obviously it doesn't need water. It grows on terrible soil. It'll grow on almost any pH soil. It'll grow in salt water, and it's like so it's actually the U.S. wants to develop it as an alternative for cattle ranching, because they find that the cattle ranchers can make more money off of growing prickly pear than they do off of the traditional cattle. And so it's a really interesting project for US based agriculture, sustainable sourcing, and then you get into potential for biofuel. Well, so there's so many uses for this traditional plant that we
Is that
go out to the desert. That's right.
Yeah.
Is that southern climate zone?
It's desert.
So it must be a certain latitude. You can't grow it past a certain
desert.
Desert dry.
South Texas. Yeah.
Okay.
Arizona, New
You're not
Mexico.
growing it in Minnesota is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not
but
likely.
there's different species, so some are more cold hardy than others. But yeah, if you freeze it, it turns into a bowl of mush. Right?
But it does need to have that desert dry type of air. I mean, there's some species that grow in the colder plateau regions of Mexico. It has a different taste, definitely. But I do believe part of it is concentrated silicates and minerals in the soil, in the dry soil as well, that are needed, because cactus it holds the water, but it also has a certain amount of mineral association.
That's right. Yeah, the minerals protect it. The really interesting thing I learned, because I went to the meeting last week, was if they put too much fertilizer or water it too much, it doesn't grow as well as if it's very low. And so it's like a math. Yeah, like normal crops, more fertilizer is better. Well, for cactus, less is better.
Put it this way: in the world of climate disaster that we're heading into, with all the wars happening and the EPA changes happening, cactus is a perfect plant. It is, in feng shui, it is considered to be like an evil-bearing plant to have in your household, because it promotes dryness and it promotes thorniness, right? But in the world of climate disaster, it is like quinoa and amaranth. It will grow. It will provide. And it is.
Yeah, that's right. And if you have farmland that you can't grow anything else on, and it's just basically desert and sand and whatever, this will grow there where nothing else will grow. And it's like,
as long as it's not clay soil, because I think the clay composition or minerals make
that's right. Yeah, it can't be clay.
It really needs
highly drained soil.
Highly drained, but sandy and with high mineral content, like you find in Peru, like you find in the canyon mountains.
Yeah, it'll almost grow on a rock,
I think I've eaten that before. Well, would I have eaten that somewhere?
Breakfast, you can get it in Mexico. My friends introduced me to this breakfast where you take the nopal leaf. It's kind of like making scrapple, Blake.
Yeah.
You can flour it, if it's really, really, really slimy. After you skin it, you can flour it or not if it's dry enough, and then you just pan fry it, and then you have it with your other,
And is it a demulcent? Like, does it have a lot of barrier function benefits?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's where it's mucilaginous, and so it has
extremely. Cool. So it's got, between the pectins and the galactomannans that are present in there already, to have that huge mucilaginous layer, that slimy layer, it's like worse than okra. You are talking about the same benefits as a lot of the botanical plants that are mucilaginous.
I love okra, so maybe I don't want this.
So it's good for protecting the mucin layer. And so it is a multi-benefit superfood if you really look at the components of it, right?
But with that comes a lot of challenge. Like, number one is how do you harvest it?
And it can be bitter.
You get stabbed a bunch of times, so
on the soil. Well, that too. Getting stabbed a lot is not friendly.
And it's interesting, so it grows one pad or leaf kind of per year, and then as it keeps growing, you get the younger leaves versus the older ones. Well, there's a difference in composition and fiber and everything for the younger ones versus the older ones. So you say, well, how do you process this as a consistent food product or food plant? You know, when
Well,
you
like in
have all
traditional
these,
use, they break off the younger leaves for the breakfast use or whatever because they're a little bit more palatable anyway. The older leaves get tougher and they get more bitter, is what I was
that's
told.
right.
And the bitter one,
And so yeah,
bitter is
so how do you scale, you know, so the questions are like, well, it's easy for somebody to do in their kitchen, but how do you scale this as you know, for the masses and because the
well,
farmers, like, you can't convince a farmer to grow this stuff unless he knows he's going to be able to sell it. And so that's
you do have winemakers that are used to picking select grapes at select times for the best wines. So there is a way of commercializing it. Now, the mucin, again, we have historic use of multiple cultures, whether with seaweed or whatever, how they used to layer and sun dry it, like spread and sun dry things. So there's ways of handling it. It's just a matter of marrying that into the mass commercialization culture we have today.